Scripture says it like this: as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Yes.
And so there's a power that comes from a certain level of calm and quiet confidence about how you present yourself. In my study of communication, one of the interesting things that popped up was a statement that happened when Jesus was preaching in one of the Gospels. And the conclusion of the people who were listening to him, when they were asked about him, they said there was no man who spoke like him. And then their testimony is that were our hearts not cut about as he spoke, there were certain influences, there were certain things that happened as he spoke that were a result of not only his words, but the conviction of his person, who he is. So, for instance, like I said yesterday, no matter how eloquent and how well put together your words are, if you are nervous, your body will tell us.
Yes.
If you feel like you don't belong and you don't deserve to be in that space, there are communications beyond what you say and how you present yourself that leave a certain taste in the people that you're talking to. So the journey towards master of communication begins with understanding how to master the elements of yourself. So as we're talking about, for instance, how to calm yourself down, because calm shows when there's a turmoil on the inside. I was having a chat today with Etambuyo, and we were joking about something, and then she told me something about what is her struggle in her communication journey. She said that for her, what she finds is that her mind will run so far ahead in the conversation that she starts to begin to stumble, to stutter, because the thought that she's trying to communicate has reached so far, and where she is with her words, she's far behind.
Ah, okay.
You know,
That's fantastic.
and so
Okay.
those are some of the things that when you understand yourself, you are better positioned to communicate effectively. And so you will hear all kinds of strategies when people are talking, but the strategy that will work is a strategy that comes from understanding yourself. So for instance, one of the things someone like me is that I quickly jump in without thinking too much. So if someone asks me a question, I'm the kind of person who goes head first. So for me,
Ah,
what I did in order for me to come across with a certain calmness, with a certain control, is that when a question comes to me,
we've started again. Uh, you are breaking now.
docile or that's awkwardness, actually your posture to show that you
Just
are
repeat,
concentrating.
coach. Repeat yourself. You had what's that? You had like one word is just going
I see.
when you just started explaining that what you do, what you've learned to
Okay,
do.
fair. All right, so for me, like I said, because I'm the kind of person who's quick to jump in, sometimes it makes it seem like you are not, the word is, you don't contemplate, you don't take things in. And so what I do is that I will give myself a 3-second window before I respond. In that window, you use your posture to show that you are contemplating, you are thinking through what this person has said. And so if I'm talking to you, even now, already you've seen that I've leaned in when you are speaking. So you give the person the notion of the fact that what they are saying is important. And then when they throw a question to you, you lean back and you allow, whether it's your mind, your head, to contemplate what they are saying. Even if you know the response, for me, I give myself 3 seconds. What that does is that it communicates the fact that I'm allowing myself to really dig into what this person is requesting of me. But that is because of how my response to communication is. And so that's why yesterday the attempt was to create a baseline. What are the things that you have noticed now that you know what to look for? Now that you understand a few things about frameworks, you understand how to present yourself, your presence, your vocal and your visual image, your storytelling, all these things, what have you now noticed about yourself that begins to be the baseline, the place where you want to build from? And so, like I said, I would do that. I don't do it all the time, but it was something that I practiced in order for me to reel this thing in, to say, don't jump into responding. Don't jump
Okay.
into, in fact, the reason I started doing it is because I realized I was a reactive communicator and not a responsive communicator. People who respond are people who actually take their time to think through what has been said and then communicate their position effectively. So even for you, as we look through what we were chatting about yesterday, where you can feel your heart racing, you must then determine what are the things that allow you to calm that down, to breathe your way into a space where you are calm. So if someone catches you off guard, you know, imagine that you're walking through the office and someone says, Barbara, there are some people who are coming through from the mines. We quickly need to put something together. I would want them to understand what's going on, and then let's brief them quickly on what they need, our position and their position. And immediately in a situation like that, you can start sweating. You're like, my goodness, how do I prepare? How do I come across? You have to first of all calm yourself.
Okay.
Confidence.
So what's
That's
that?
why even someone who is a fraud, someone who steals from people, someone who dupes people, the reason why they are able to do it is because their words, you can listen to someone and be like, what this guy is saying is not making sense. But the rest of the package, how calm and confident they are, the fact that they are maintaining so much eye contact, this person communicates genuineness with everything about him, even though his words are not making sense. So it is understanding these things that lend to your voice that allow you to have impact and power in any room. I'll pause here
Okay.
for any question and for us to have a conversation here.
All right. In instances where you are told that, like the scenario you have given me, or I'm doing a presentation and as I get up or as I start to think of preparing what you have said, there's that instance where you get nervous.
Mm.
Is the nervousness, is the nervousness fear or it's just anxiety?
That's a very interesting question. One of the most,
There's a reason why I'm asking this. So
sure.
you go ahead, give me the answer first.
All right. So the most fundamental fear that one of the most fundamental fears that human beings have is the fear of embarrassment. And one of the most powerful positions for a human being to get to is to understand that on the other side of embarrassment is the opportunity that everyone is looking for. If you're able to overcome that fear of embarrassment, you might still do something that might not represent you well, but on the other side of your fear of embarrassment is usually the opportunity that you're looking for. What does that mean? So the scenario we're talking about now, you've been asked to make a presentation, and you stand up, you're not ready, and you tell yourself, you know what, maybe let me take a drink of water before I start. And someone who understands and can lean into their embarrassment, you imagine you grab the water bottle and you are shaking, you're nervous, so you're shaking. And people can see that. You can lean into it and say, as you can see, my body and my mind don't seem ready for this particular presentation, but I can assure you that as you listen, what you're going to hear is going to get you to the place where you understand and you value this particular engagement.
But what
Instead
you
of
have
trying,
said,
yes,
what you have said, like you are saying, you can see that A, B, C, D. Is it not like what we are told that you don't let the audience know that you're not ready for something? Like they ask you that, can you speak? Then you say, oh, I have not prepared for this, but then you start talking. Because I'm meant to
no,
believe that when you're asked to speak, you don't say what you have not done, how unready you are. You just dive in.
yes. Now, notice what I said. You lean into the issue, this thing that might make you seem like you're unprepared, but you assure them that no matter the perception, because remember, how people judge is initially on how we look. So you stand up, and as you have stood up, you are aware of the fact that you are nervous, and you grab maybe a bottle of water, it's shaking. You say, I know that you can see that I might be nervous. But the reason I'm nervous, so you lean in, like I said, you lean into the things that might take away from your presentation. The reason I'm looking like this is because I understand the value of this conversation. And so I can assure you that all these things and what I'm going to present today is going to be worth your while. And so instead of trying to hide it, instead of trying to pull it away, you lean into it, and you can even use it to establish your authority. Say,
Okay.
so like we're speaking now, there are certain things that honestly speaking you are nervous and you can't control what's going on. You can't control what's going on. Your hand is shaking, your voice is shaking. Instead of leaning, like one of the fundamental or principles that allows you to actually get around such things, I like to say, come out of yourself. Meaning, the more you concentrate on the things you are seeing, the more likely you are going to exaggerate and grow them. What you give your attention to grows. So if your attention is on the fact that, my goodness, my hand is shaking, my goodness, my voice is not coming, the truth of the matter is the whole presentation will drive in that particular direction. But if you are willing to lean into certain things, meaning you're not avoiding it, but you're already on the other side of it, in the sense that you lean into the fact that my nerves seem to get the better, would want to get the better of me in this presentation, but I can assure you that as I stand before you, I understand the value of this presentation and I am ready to take you on a journey that will change your perception when it comes to this particular subject. As soon as
Okay.
you come out of noticing and paying attention to this thing that's taking away from your presentation, you will soon find that you get into the flow. I'll give you a personal example of how the last masterclass took place. So at the last minute, the venue changed the room they had given us. I
Okay.
had prepared videos to show the team. I had prepared all kinds of presentations that had slides. And all that now was out of the window because they changed the room. The room they put us in did not have a screen. And so I sent the guys I was with, guys, okay, rush home, get a screen, get everything. So by the time people had settled in for us to begin, I was not ready to start because my whole presentation, what I had prepared, was hinged on there being a screen. So fast forward, these guys come in with their screen, they're failing to connect. I just tell them, okay, guys, forget about the screen. Let's get into it. That means I now have to start a presentation outside all the things that I had prepared. And so I go to the audience and I say, I apologize for starting with Zambian time. And as you can tell, what we had prepared were not able to put in place in time. I didn't even start giving excuses about the room and everything like that. But I said, but I know that you are going to have a wonderful time. And together we're going to explore the journey of public speaking to the point where, as you leave, you will be better than you came. As soon as I went there, we were done with the TV, we were done with all that. It was now time to proceed. And things began to flow. We started doing things that I had not prepared for, but if you ask anyone who was in the room, we were able to make and present something that was so worthwhile and so that people enjoyed so much that there were other opportunities that came from it, including at the venue itself, because one of the managers was able to come and peek at what we were doing. The reason it was able to be a success is because you don't shy away from the fact that, okay, things have not gone the way you wanted, but you are able to lean into it for the sake of progress, because people have seen, they've seen your guys trying to to fidget to connect the TV, trying to fidget with this.
Yeah. And
Yes, they've
things
seen
wouldn't
it.
work.
Exactly. So it happens. You might have slides, and for some reason, the slides are jamming. You are trying to press. You are trying to what? Things are not working. You lean into that. Like, oh my goodness, technology has just got its way of working and not working at the most inopportune times. But because I am prepared, I'll be able to share these ideas with you without the need of the slides, and I can share the slides with anyone who would want them at the end of this presentation. And then you
Yes.
move on. You will find that once you have moved away from the thing that is expressing or showcasing your inadequacy, in the sense that maybe it's showing that you're nervous, showing that you're what, you are able then to settle down. So I've been in presentations before where someone was like, my voice tends to crack when I speak sometimes. And so for me to settle, I'd like to take a glass of water and then I'll be able to begin to speak. That is a very mature way of ensuring that you are calming yourself, because you know that there's an internal struggle at that particular point. You're still dealing with your nerves. You know, you ask, oh, allow me to just settle as I connect my gadgets to make sure that everything is working properly. At that point, you even know that you're also settling yourself.
Okay.
So those are things that you lean into certain things where someone, the takeaway from what they are seeing is, Barbara is so funny. When the slides stopped working, she was like, technology, sometimes you can even think it's possessed. When you're doing one of the most important presentations of your life, things.
Yeah,
And so
sensors, our
instead of it
sensors
being
have
such
come.
yes, it can be such an anxious moment where now you look disorganized, you look what? Or if you lean into it, you'll find that it turns into something else. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that
Does.
is the ideology around as within, so without. So the state of who you are and how you've settled certain things about yourself is so important as a communicator. So important. So much so that the day they call upon you and you're not ready, your capacity to communicate and to deliver will be dependent on how well you know yourself and the things that you've built into who you are. I was listening to the gentleman is called Vusi Tembegwaya, and
A gentleman
he
called?
had gone for a certain podcast. He was invited for a podcast, and he came 2 hours late. And so the guy who runs the podcast was complaining on another platform, and even as he complained, he was like, "No, I was so disappointed. This guy's an expert. This guy is a professional, and so I didn't expect him to make us wait. I've got things to do. He has things to do." And then he said, "But when Vusi arrived, he barely apologized. But, you know, we were anxious. He arrived. We were rushing. As soon as we sat down to communicate, I realized why we needed to talk to this guy. His presence, his aura. As soon as I asked the first question, how he handled himself, you would think that he and I had been preparing for about an hour before the conversation. The reason is very simple, and that's what he said. The reason is I realized that Vusi is not only good at what he does, he has become what he does. Isn't that an interesting
Okay.
statement? He said
He
he
has
has
become.
become what he does. Meaning, as a speaker and a communicator, Vusi has embodied the things that are to be studied if you want to communicate. He has embodied the things that make a consummate communicator. So, understanding the fact that it is what you are that we communicate is so important. Even if you're going to talk about a subject that you've studied, communication always flows out of the authenticity of you being you, and you being a person who understands yourself enough to know that, okay, in situations like this, I'm nervous. So, how do I calm myself? How do I make sure that I come across strong, even in an environment that I know that I am nervous, I know that I feel unready, I know that I feel unprepared. You know, a lot of people even feel like it's it's detrimental to say, allow me to consult with my notes as I continue with this particular presentation. They're like, ah, so they're going to go and read, but someone who is comfortable understands, oh, okay, I've said these points, I'm having I would want to make them follow and flow along more effectively. Let me consult my notes. You consult your notes. Oh, okay, great. So the next level of what I'm going to begin to speak about is this is, and you take the people that you're speaking to on that particular journey. But other people will feel, me going back to read, going back to is it makes it seem like I'm not a, you know. So basically what I'm saying is understanding the internal conversation, what happens on the inside, how you speak to yourself, and sometimes while you are presenting, is going to be so powerful in settling you as a brilliant and a masterful communicator. So internal conversation.
Oh,
Mhm.
so in appreciating yourself from the inner you, it's
Mhm.
the same way as preparedness. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying understanding yourself from the inner you. Um, sorry about this cough that is not clearing fully. Yeah, so understanding yourself from the inner you, is it the same as being prepared? Oh,
I can I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes. So just to answer what you said, because I heard you very clearly, preparedness, I like the fact that you've gone there. Preparedness speaks to the fact that you are not someone who is working on your skill and your capacity because of a specific event. It speaks to the fact that you are dealing with the things and working on the things that you've identified in order for you to be in the positive where you are negative. So being prepared rather than preparing is the posture. So taking the journey, like you've mentioned, to say you're looking to do something that will go through the whole year means that your mindset is not, I don't want to prepare for an event, I don't want to prepare for a presentation, but I want to build into myself capacities that make me able to stand out, whether I had to read or whether I'm called upon impromptu.
okay.
So being prepared is what establishes that inner conversation. The same way that, so understand with me that because of the way you were raised, you are prepared as a woman.
Mhm.
So when someone calls you and says, Coach Barbara, I would want you to speak to what womanhood has been for you. Yes, you can sit down and study and put certain ideas together. But because your experience has been curated around womanhood, even if you have not necessarily been given a chance to prepare or read or structure your thoughts, when you have experience, when you have the toolkit, when you have a lived experience, you are able to communicate from that. You're able to express from that. So it would be easy for you to talk about womanhood because you have been curated and that is your experience. In the same way, if you have curated a lifestyle, or curated a skill set and a toolkit around communication, you'll be able to express in any environment. As you walk in, you don't have to consciously think now about, okay, how am I looking? But you've worked on these things so well that as soon as you walk in a room, your shoulders are square. You are generous with eye contact. You are able to frame your understanding of any conversation so much so that they can ask you about politics. I was having a conversation with a certain gentleman who picked up this conversation about Iran and Trump with me. And honestly, I haven't been following it that well. But I told him, I said, well, my position is guided by two principles. One, war. Hello? Can
I'm
you hear
here.
me? Okay,
Yes, I
great.
can.
I said, my perception is guided by two principles. One, I don't believe that war is ever the answer. And two,
Yes.
I feel that sometimes people who are losing power become desperate in the way that they approach things. And so he said, what do you mean by that? And I told him, I feel America is losing its grip on the world. And so they are trying to find ways to ensure that they secure power for themselves. So Iran is a strategic country, what they did in Venezuela. And he was like, I've been arguing with people about this for a long time. No one has actually made me think about it like that it's America's agenda to just secure power. They're losing power. But it's not something that for me was a prepared conversation. But I was able to structure my thoughts to communicate and convey something of value, even in a conversation I was not ready for. Because I have a toolkit. I can frame an idea. I can calm myself and think through my thoughts. And I'm able to say things in a way that I myself feel, okay, I've represented my ideals, my idea effectively. And as simple as that. Why? Because I am consistently preparing myself, not for an event, but putting things into myself that I can call upon at any time. All right. And so, first and foremost, a communicator speaks from authenticity, meaning understanding themselves. You
Okay.
can only pretend for so long, and pretense shows. Vibe never lies. Never forget that. How you vibrate on the inside, it will show. It will show. People can tell. People can pick up on certain things. And this is why people who lie to us about get rich quick schemes and all this, they can sway the masses for a while, but before long their arguments fall apart because there's no authenticity in that communication. So understanding who and where you are in your communication journey is the first step. And then now getting to the place where, first and foremost, you are aware of those things, and then you approach any engagement with that awareness, knowing and putting things into place. I began by saying, for me, I used to count literally in my head. I would count up to 3 before responding. Now, I have a more acute awareness of my environment because I've dealt with that. I can even answer quickly, and also in other instances, I know, let me give myself chance. So now there's more than just that counting at play. There's also situational awareness. You can tell the person you're speaking to requires prompt responding. You can tell the person you're speaking to has postured themselves in a way where they are fighting. And so when you know that you're in a fight, there's a way to be strategic about how you respond.
Okay.
Right. So yesterday we spoke a little bit about breathing because you spoke about your heart racing. Your heart racing. That's so very interesting. I've never really experienced the heart racing thing, but for me, I don't even know how to explain how I feel it. I just feel anxious. I feel like I want to, I'm the kind of person who wants to sound smart. You want to sound smart. You want to sound intelligent, right? So I'm usually anxious about that. But like I said, I quickly learn, I lean into such things. And even in the conversations, like I said, when we were at the masterclass, actually, I was talking about how understanding your audience and the most powerful communicators are the most simplistic. The most simplistic. If you're able to join us tomorrow at 20, we're doing a review and reflect session with Namatama. She was on radio today, and I was
Okay.
listening to her interview. Yo, she was asked a question about policy and women and all that, and she answered the question, but there was so much fluff in the answer.
There was so
She
much
put
what?
fluff. By fluff, I
Okay.
mean, even me at my level, I don't think I understood her answer. I can only imagine what the interviewer was going through, because
She was
I
just saying
think the
things.
way the way she responded, it seemed to me like those questions were pre-prepared,
Oh,
and
okay.
she was reading and she had put all the big words she knew. All of them were in that one answer. And
Wow.
so instead of breaking down the question she was given, she gave us so much complexity and confusion in the big words she used that it was like, okay, this conversation seems to be going around in circles because we didn't understand. I didn't understand what she was saying. And so communication, like I was saying now, and what that does, when you communicate like that, you come out to be disingenuous. You're not being authentic.
There was
You're not being authentic
some
because,
time back.
yes, please.
Some time back, I remember um, we were like having a meeting, and I was okay. There was like a question posed, not specifically to you, but a question is posed, and here I was trying to explain, but then the chair kept on saying, "I don't understand what you're saying."
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to change, like, okay, let me start from this point going this. She emphasized, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of any other way of explaining it. And unfortunately, even the people in the room, nobody of them came up to, because we were, colleagues. Like, what, if you know what, I know what you are talking about. So I can chip in and support you where I feel like, okay, maybe here, this is what you want to say. Nobody in the room came in and helped. And that's how the conversation ended. And she just said, I know what you are saying. There's some sense in it, but I can't just understand what you are trying to put across.
Wow.
So
That's
it,
that's so
it
interesting.
made me, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, when you were talking about the same, is it Namatama or
Mm.
the person who was being interviewed, that's what I thought of, that you're talking of something, the listener is not able to understand what you're trying to put across, but you are just there, and because it's coming from you, you think you've done you are so clear in the way you have presented it. And sometimes you wonder, like me, I particularly asked myself that particular day, I was like, "Ah, but where did I go wrong?" But
Mm,
later on, I came to learn that I was, before learning frameworks and everything, and this is about,
mm,
I think, 7 years ago or so when this happened. But you learn that you have A, B, C, D, but and you have to put them in that order. But when talking, you talk about B, then you skip, you go to D, then you come
mhm.
back to A. So there's no order, and it makes it difficult for somebody who doesn't really appreciate what you're talking about to comprehend.
Yeah, so interesting that you've said that because for me, the definition of communication is that it is, I say it like this, it is an intricate dance
Mhm.
between perception and perspective. You've got that?
Yes.
So, communication is an intricate dance between perception and perspective. What that means is
Mhm.
that as a communicator, there's a way that you understand the subject matter. And so that informs your perspective, rather, your perception. That is your
Mhm.
worldview. Can you hear
Mhm.
me?
Yes, I can.
Great. That is your worldview. That is how you see things. That is how you reason things out. But
Mhm.
then you must understand and be aware of your audience. That means you must learn how to engage with perspective. What are the other viewpoints that communicate this very thing that we are looking at? And so that's why simplicity is the most powerful tool to a communicator. How to break things down to the level that
Mhm.
allows for anybody to be able to follow. And like you mentioned, so you have the idea and you know this thing well, but also understanding how to take your audience step by step towards a desired result. How do you make them move from here to there in a way that also makes sense to them? And so you'll find that in organizations, sometimes a struggle is that me as a superior, I've given an instruction to a supervisor. The supervisor gives an instruction to their immediate subordinate, but they give their instruction in the way that they feel they've understood it. And when I come to inquire about the task, the supervisor said, I told this person to undertake this task. You ask the person who has told you, why didn't you do it? I did not understand. Or someone does something not in the way it was supposed to be done, only because the communicator did not take time to engage with perspective, not just perception, because how I see things makes sense. And so I've said it the way it makes sense to me, how someone ought to communicate to me. But the question you must ask yourself is that does that particular person who is listening to you have the same frame of reference when it comes to your subject matter to understand it the way you are giving it? Or you might need to engage with another way in order for them to be clear about it. So there's a clip that I shared with that I talked to you about, remember, that I was supposed to share.
Even
Hello?
there's a video you're supposed to share.
Yes, I'm gonna share it now. I'll share it tonight. It's I'll share the version of it that's about 9 to 11 minutes with the things that we have spoken about now and the background of how um, for instance, how to use pauses to calm yourself, how to use your frameworks to communicate effectively. Even this conversation we're having now, I want you to pay attention because what we're talking about now, you'll see in that video. And you'll see
Okay.
how an individual can use presence to take over a room, to fill a room, to talk in a way that commands authority and gravitas because he was, this individual was clear about who he is, why he was there. So there was an authenticity around who he was. and the place he was operating from. And you will see how, because of that, whenever he spoke, how he spoke and how he required the people around him to communicate with him is so powerful. And so as we now build from this baseline, I want you to watch through this video, and then we'll break it down and you'll share with me what are the things that you picked out, what are the things that you noticed. That particular clip, and if you watch that movie, the dialogue in the movie, the way that these actors handle themselves when it comes to speak, it was, for me, it is a masterclass. That movie is a masterclass in communication.
Okay.
Masterclass. Yeah, so I'll send you that particular boardroom scene, that you look through it, you dissect it, so that we can then discuss it at length tomorrow. What you have noticed, how you saw, what you notice in each and every player at the table who actually speaks and engages, how to ensure that your communication, your presence, your power is evident and is felt, whether you've spoken, in how you speak, in how you handle yourself. And then we'll begin to drive towards now some practicalities after we've set and have established this baseline. One, understanding and knowing yourself. That
Okay.
clarity will help you be able to navigate rooms and spaces so effectively, because when you know yourself, you know not to take yourself too seriously. You know not to be too hard on yourself. And you'll know to appreciate when you find yourself in the room, you appreciate the fact that, wow, Barbara, I mean, just 10 years ago, this was your dream. Look at you now. Instead of being so anxious, how am I going to speak to these people? You can be celebrating the conversation on the inside is excitement. Like, who would have known that 10 years later, I would be the same Barbara now sitting in a room like this? I'll be the same Barbara who's been asked to chair such a meeting, you know? So as we have gone through the little we've gone through now, this now establishes us now to get into the nitty-gritties of how we go into in-depth conversations on presence, in-depth conversations on frameworks, in-depth conversations on confidence, and all these things that we have already laid the foundation over, and now we are building to ensure that we are preparing not only for any presentation that comes through, but also preparing for life. One of the things that for me I appreciate having taken this journey of communication is how that even my relationships, I am able to pursue relationships. I can walk up to
Oh, you're
there's
breaking.
a gentleman,
Wow.
and
Hello,
he was
almost
driving a
done.
very, very nice car. This vehicle that you do a lot about you. Hello, can you hear me?
I couldn't hear
Hello,
you. Hi.
can you hear me now?
Now I can, yes. But I
All
stopped
right, great.
hearing you from the time you started talking about your communication journey.
Okay,
How
yeah,
it
great.
is that
So I'm
you're
saying what
able
I
to.
appreciate about my communication journey is how it has helped me not only when it comes to presenting in front of an audience, but how it has enriched my life when it comes to relationships, how to pursue relationships, how to engage with individuals, random people on the street. I was saying that I spoke to a gentleman recently who was driving a very nice car, and I just walked up to him and I said, "Look, I don't know whether people tell you this, but the car you drive says a lot about you. And so I would like to just shake your hand." And so he looked at me very, very strange and said, "Ah, you want to shake your hand?
Oh,
What
that
does the
is
car I drive say about me?" And you see, a conversation starter like that, someone's walls have already come down. You are able to actually engage. I spoke with that man for over 30 minutes. I found him in his car. He got out of the car. We started chatting. Even he gave me his number and we spoke about how we can work together. How? Because I was able to engage in a way that is not used. You know how to stand out. You know how to encourage conversation. In a way. in conversation with my wife, certain tools at your disposal, you can be able to navigate. Particularly, I feel the most important element of human interaction. This is why I'm confident that even with AI and all these things, those of us who are serious about our communication are going to continue to shine.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know whether you'd want to say one or two things. I would want us to end here for tonight. I'll send you that video. If you still have time, you can look through it today. And then we can have a chat about it tomorrow. It's about 11 minutes. I know you'll watch it more than one time. I love it. It's one of the things that I always go back to. It's very, very interesting. And so you can watch it as many times as you want. Then we can discuss what you notice on there. What are the things that stood out for you? And then we can build on that conversation tomorrow. I don't know whether we're meeting tomorrow or we skip a day to Friday. That's up to you.
Let's see. So tomorrow I have an intense day after work.
Okay.
The program I'm going for after work, I'm sure I should be here around 8:30, 8:45. So maybe, but I don't know. I can still be
I would
here.
want us to continue. I like the momentum. So even if you're saying maybe
And let's
tomorrow
do it.
we do 9:30, I'm okay with that.
Okay, we can do it between 9 or 9:30. I'll confirm.
Sure, no problem. No problem.
But two things before we leave, coach.
Sure.
One, the one, yesterday you talked about this man that you like listening to.
Yes.
Yes, and you said you'd share a clip. Is it the same thing that you're sharing now? Or it's different?
His name is John Peterson.
You're breaking?
I'll share a clip of mention Vusi as well.
Okay. Bootsy. There's this man that I can't just master the name, but there's this man I've listened to who gave a story of like having gone out for a competition. Are you there? Coach?